Chapter 1 Lin Yi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The sun creeps over the horizon, another day dawning. Every family here has to scrap for a living, they're just too poor, the village is way out in the sticks. If you need to buy supplies or sell anything you've made, it's a long trek to the nearest town and back. Whenever the adults go, the kids are always itching to tag along, but it's usually too far. Today, they were back in the fields. One family, the Lins, had a kid named Lin Yi. He's 5, a bright little guy who knows things are tough at home, so he pitches in however he can. Xiao Yi. Someone called from a distance. It was Lin Sheng, 6 years old and Lin Yi's best pal. Everyone called him Little Fatty. Lin Yi grinned. Hey, Little Fatty, you look like you just won the lottery. Little Fatty bounced with excitement. Better than candy. I'm finally going to town tomorrow. No way, Little Fatty. Really? Little Fatty nodded his head, practically vibrating. Lin Yi was happy for his friend, but a little bummed too. He wanted to go, but would his dad take him? Little Fatty noticed Lin Yi's face fall. I heard a bunch of people are going. Maybe your dad's one of them. Then we could go together. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Maybe there was a chance. He felt a spark of hope. Little Fatty chattered the whole way, all hyped up, but Lin Yi's mind was stuck on one thing: would his dad go? The day dragged on forever. He just wanted it to be tomorrow already. Finally, it was time for lunch, and Lin Yi raced home, full of anticipation. He saw smoke curling from the kitchen chimney, a sure sign lunch was cooking. Mom, I'm home. He called, scanning the room. No dad. His heart sank. He found his mom in the kitchen, a small woman, but pretty, with a determined look in her eyes. Xiao Yi, she said, seeing him. Lunch will be ready in a minute. Lin Yi nodded. Let me get the firewood. Mom Lin smiled, pleased at how helpful he was. As he stacked the wood, he casually asked, Mom, where's Dad? He's not eating here today. He and the other men went up into the mountains early to hunt and gather herbs. Oh, Lin Yi mumbled. Hey, did you hear anyone's going to town tomorrow? Mom Lin was busy and just said she hadn't heard. Lin Yi didn't push it. After lunch, instead of going back to work, he stayed put, waiting. He was itching for his dad to show up, wishing it were evening already. But time seemed to slow to a crawl. He figured he might as well do some chores. That way, at least, the time wouldn't feel wasted. He could even help his family more. Finally, evening came, but still no Dad. Mom, isn't Dad back yet? He asked, his voice tight. No, and I don't know if he will tonight. Lin Yi felt a cold shiver. Mom Lin saw his face and asked, Xiao Yi, do you need your father for something? No, Mom. It's nothing. Mom Lin didn't press. He was just a kid, after all. After dinner, and still no sign of his dad, Lin Yi went to find Little Fatty. Little Fatty saw him coming and rushed out. So? Lin Yi was downcast. My dad went to the mountains. He might not even be back tonight. Little Fatty tried to cheer him up. Maybe he's on his way back now. Lin Yi knew his friend was just trying to make him feel better. He forced a smile and didn't say anything. Little Fatty felt bad seeing Lin Yi so bummed. Suddenly, he perked up. Hey, Xiao Yi, remember those bees we saw last time? I walked past there today, and they're swimming in honey. Lin Yi remembered the honeycomb. It had been ages since he'd tasted honey. His mouth watered. Let's go. He said, temporarily forgetting his worries. They headed out by moonlight toward their target, the biggest tree around, so wide it would take several people to wrap their arms around it. The old tree had holes everywhere. In one of the bigger ones, you could see the bees swarming around the honey. Lin Yi was stoked. Little Fatty, there's tons of honey. Enough for a long time. Little Fatty jumped up and down. We'll have honey for days. But then they frowned. How could they get the honey without getting stung to smithereens? Little Fatty looked worried. Xiao Yi, what do we do? Lin Yi remembered how the grown-ups did it. We smoke them out first, then cover ourselves up. That should keep us from getting stung. You're a genius, Xiao Yi. Little Fatty exclaimed, so they scrounged up some stuff to make smoke, and wrapped themselves up as best they could. Then, they fanned the smoke toward the tree hole. Soon, a buzzing started inside, growing louder and louder. Bees started flying out. Lin Yi and Little Fatty exchanged grins, knowing they were close. More and more bees swarmed out, then finally started to thin. Harvest time. Lin Yi, you think it's ready? Little Fatty asked. Lin Yi figured it was. Yeah, I'll grab it. You hold the basket. Lin Yi reached inside, his small hand trembling with excitement as he touched the honey. It's packed with honey. He told Little Fatty. Carefully, Lin Yi broke off a piece and pulled it out. A few bees were still clinging to it. He brushed them off, broke off a small chunk for himself and Little Fatty, and put the rest in the basket. Then, they each popped their share into their mouths, forgetting everything in that moment. Wow! Little Fatty cried. So sweet. The best thing ever. Lin Yi savored the taste. It had been so long. For two kids, poor as they were, honey was the ultimate treat. They sat there, grinning like fools, honey dripping down their chins. Finally, they finished their piece, still wanting more. Then they remembered all the honey still waiting to be taken. They went back to work, stuffing the basket until it overflowed. Little Fatty, bring your basket. We'll split it, okay? Awesome. Little Fatty agreed. They divided the honey, then licked the sticky mess off their hands and ran home, baskets in tow. Lin Yi couldn't wait to share his joy with his mom. But when he got home, she was already asleep. It was late. Lin Yi sighed, surprised how quickly time had flown. He hid the honey carefully, washed up, and went to bed, his mood swinging from worry to pure happiness. He dreamed sweet dreams of honey, forgetting all the troubles of the day. Chapter 2 Little Eagle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There was a noise downstairs. Lin Yi cracked open an eye, then quickly shut it again. Why so much racket this morning? He could vaguely hear his dad's voice. Lin Yi thought he was dreaming, that his dad was talking about taking stuff to town to trade. It must be a dream. But the more he listened, the more it seemed real. Lin Yi pinched himself. Ouch. Nope, definitely not dreaming. Wondering when his dad was planning to leave, Lin Yi jumped out of bed and ran towards the commotion. He found his dad, a pretty strong guy, the breadwinner of the family, surveying some stuff on the ground. It was all stuff he'd brought back from the mountains. There were rabbits, pheasants, some still alive, and a couple of snakes. Lin Yi, naturally, steered clear of the snakes. He also saw various wild plants and berries. His dad said, "We're keeping this little hawk. We'll raise it, and when it's big enough, we can hunt with it." Lin Yi then noticed a little eagle in a basket. It looked like it couldn't fly yet, so it must have been recently hatched. Lin Yi went over and gently scooped it up. It was really cute. Dad, did you find him in the mountains too? Yep. I was resting yesterday when I heard a chirping sound. Found this little guy. We waited for the mother eagle to fly off to find food before we snatched it up. That's why I didn't get back till this morning. Lin Yi really liked the little bird. It kept nibbling on his finger. Probably hungry. Mom, look. The little eagle seems hungry. His mom took a look at the little eagle and went back to the kitchen to find some food. The little thing ate like crazy when it saw it. Must have been starving. Once it was full, Lin Yi put the little guy on his shoulder. Then, Lin Yi noticed a small plant set aside. The dirt around the roots wasn't disturbed. His dad was being careful with it. This thing must be special. Lin Yi circled it, trying to figure out what was so great about this little weed. Dad, what's this plant? His dad looked over at Lin Yi, barely able to hide his grin. That's another surprise, besides the little eagle. I lucked out yesterday. It's called golden silver grass. It's supposed to be over 100 years old and works wonders on cuts and scrapes. With this, we're set for the year. Hearing that, Lin Yi got excited. The family had been struggling for years. Finally, things were looking up. I'll pack all this up later and head into town today to sell it and get some cash. Just then, his mom spoke up. Hey, I saw you looking for your dad yesterday. What was that about? Lin Yi suddenly remembered. He'd almost forgotten the most important thing, but he didn't know how to ask. His parents never wanted to take him to town, especially since they'd have to spend the night on the road. So, Lin Yi started rambling, just making sounds. Even he didn't know what he was saying. His dad listened for a while, then said, "Hey, spit it out. What do you want?" Lin Yi took a deep breath. "Dad, can you take me to town today?" He added quickly, "Little fatty's going." His dad glanced at his mom, who didn't say anything. After thinking for a second, he said, "Okay, but don't start whining about being tired." Lin Yi jumped for joy. He didn't think his dad would agree so easily. He was even ready to bargain if he had to. Guess not. Still, he had to save those tricks for later. Maybe his dad was just in a good mood. He must be feeling successful about the next year, and so he simply agreed. Then Lin Yi suddenly remembered the honey from last night and ran to his room. Seeing Lin Yi so excited, his parents smiled and shook their heads. Lin Yi came back out with a basket. "Dad, Mom, look what I got." His mom saw the basket full of honeycomb and asked in surprise, "Where did you get this?" Lin Yi grinned. "Me and little fatty got it from that big tree after dinner last night. You can take it to town and sell it." His mom looked at his dad. His dad thought for a second and said to Lin Yi, "No need to sell the honey. We can use it to keep our strength up. We won't be short on money for a while anyway. Don't go doing dangerous stuff like that again, okay?" Lin Yi's mom agreed. Lin Yi nodded and asked when they were leaving so that he could quickly get ready. Lin Yi still hadn't washed up, so he did that quickly. After he was ready, he waited for a bit and then headed towards the edge of town together. He saw a bunch of people waiting there. They were all villagers who were going to town. Little fatty was there too. When he saw Lin Yi, he waved his arms like crazy. Lin Yi waved back, walking up to him. Little fatty said, "I knew you'd come, and I was waiting for you." Lin Yi grinned. "Is everyone here?" "Yep. I guess we're ready to head out." Even before little fatty finished, the adults started walking. Lin Yi started off towards the town with excitement. Lin Yi asked little fatty, "What did you do with the honey last night?" Little fatty didn't hesitate. "I ate it, of course." "You didn't take it to town to sell, did you?" He pulled a little package out of his pocket and unwrapped it. "Sure enough, honey." Little fatty broke off half and gave it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi took the honey without a second thought and said as he ate, "I was going to sell it in town, but my parents said we should keep it at home and eat it ourselves." They walked and talked, and before they knew it, it was noon. The adults said they should grab some food. Seeing the adults slowly eating their dry rations, Lin Yi started getting impatient. Why weren't they done yet? It felt like forever, but it had only been a few minutes. As they got closer to town, Lin Yi's heart started pounding faster. Finally, he saw a crowd in the distance. His dad said, "Today's market day. People from all around come to town." That's when Lin Yi understood why there were so many people. Even from far away, he could see that the town was full of nice houses. Chapter 3 Being Deceived. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Lin Yi and his group arrived in town, they split up, agreeing to meet up with the little fat man later. Lin's father led Lin Yi toward the trading area, the sounds of vendors hawking their wares growing louder as they approached. "Step right up, folks. Best deals in town. Quality guaranteed." As they walked past one stall, the vendor called out, "Hey there, take a look. You won't be disappointed." Lin's father kept walking, ignoring him. The vendor didn't give up until they were well past. Xiao Yi, Lin's father said, that's just their sales pitch. Don't fall for it, or they'll rip you off every time. When you're older, I'll take you out more, so you don't get taken advantage of and bring trouble to the family. Lin Yi listened intently, taking it all in. After navigating through the crowded streets, Lin's father arrived at his regular spot. Several people were already waiting to do business. Lin's father joined the queue. Lin Yi noticed the other stalls were empty and asked, "Dad, why don't you go to those other stalls?" His father smiled. "I'm familiar with this guy. We've been trading here for a while." Lin Yi nodded, looked around, and wandered off to explore. His father kept an eye on him, but didn't worry too much. Suddenly, a commotion caught Lin Yi's attention. A crowd had gathered nearby. He saw a monkey lying motionless on the ground. A man was pointing at the stall owner. That monkey was jumping around just fine. "How come it's unconscious the minute you touched it?" The stall owner remained calm, clearly used to this sort of thing. "Hey, you can't just make things up. I run an honest business. If your monkey has a problem, don't go blaming me." The man became even more agitated. "That's impossible. This monkey's been healthy since I brought it to market. I even made sure it was well fed to get a good price. But as soon as you touched it, something went wrong. Who else could it be?" The stall owner didn't flinch. "If you're going to accuse me, you need proof. If you can show it's my fault, I'll pay you 10 times the price. Otherwise, back off. I have connections here." The man was stunned, at a loss for words. He was from a poor village and had come to market hoping to sell the monkey for a good price to help his family. Now, it seemed like everything was falling apart. He knelt down, pleading, "Please, stall owner, that monkey is my family's only hope. Just help me out." The stall owner remained expressionless. "I understand you're having a hard time, but I'm barely scraping by myself. I can't afford to take a loss." After a pause, the stall owner said, as if making a difficult decision, "Seeing as you're worse off than me, how about I buy your dead monkey at a slightly higher price?" The man couldn't accept it. But the monkey was fine just now. More and more people gathered, buzzing with opinions. The stall owner grew impatient. "This is my final offer. I'll raise the price a little more, but that's it. I'm already doing you a favor." The man stared at the stall owner, repeating, "The monkey was fine just now." The stall owner signaled to a few nearby men. "Look, you're hurting my business. If you don't make a decision, I'll have them remove you. My offer is very generous." The man looked at the men surrounding him. He had no choice. He reluctantly nodded. He'd have to go to another stall to sell the dead monkey, probably for even less. The stall owner smiled, took out some coins, and handed them to the man. "You'll never get this price anywhere else. Come back again." The man took the coins and left, defeated. Lin Yi watched him go, deeply affected. They were both poor, and all of the man's family's hopes had just been reduced to a handful of coins. He thought about the family's expectations, their precarious existence, and felt powerless. Lin Yi walked back to where his father was. 2 people nearby were discussing what had happened. "That stall owner's tricks have ruined so many poor families." "Yeah, but they're inexperienced. They won't go to him again." "Probably not." A few taels of silver suddenly turned into a few copper coins. Little do they know, the monkey wasn't really dead, just temporarily unconscious, but no one dares say anything. Who would dare? Someone exposed him once, and that person disappeared without a trace. I heard one of his relatives is a disciple of some sect, that's why he gets away with it. Who knows? I'm not saying anything. We better get out of here before he hears us. Yeah, let's go. Lin Yi finally understood. He had been wondering why the monkey suddenly collapsed, so that's it. He clenched his fist. The stall owner was despicable, potentially ruining an entire family. But Lin Yi couldn't do anything about it. He found himself back at his father's side. Lin's father had finished his business. Seeing Lin Yi's face, he asked, "Xiao Yi, what's wrong?" Lin Yi told him what he had seen. "This place is a real mixed bag," Lin's father said. "You have to watch out for everything." Lin Yi made a mental note. "Dad, where are we going next?" "We're going to Qingyao Hall to buy medicine." As they walked, Lin Yi looked around curiously. His father pointed out various landmarks. Finally, they arrived at a magnificent building. "That's the fanciest restaurant in town," Lin's father said. "The prices are outrageous. We couldn't afford a meal there, even if we saved up for a year. It's a place for the rich and powerful." Lin Yi watched the well-dressed people entering and leaving, their faces glowing with prosperity. It was a different world. Soon after, they arrived at Qingyao Hall. Chapter 4 Qingyao Hall. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon entering Qingyao Hall, a clerk rushed over, all smiles. "Sir, how can I help you? I guarantee you'll be satisfied." Lin's father chuckled. "Thinkin' of sellin' some herbs, am I? Right this way, sir." The clerk led Lin's father to a table, where he gestured for him to sit. "All right, sir, show me what you've got, and I'll give you an estimate." Lin's father nodded. "Sounds good." He presented all the herbs except the pearl gold and silver grass. Lin Yi, unsure of his father's plan, stayed quiet and watched. The clerk examined the pile of herbs and frowned. "Is this it?" Lin's father played it cool. "Yep, pretty much." The clerk's enthusiasm vanished. "A whole lot of nothing. Maybe enough for a few copper coins." Lin's father didn't flinch. "How many copper coins are we talking?" Eager to be done with him, the clerk scoffed. 10 at most. "Take it or leave it, buddy." That's what Lin's father expected, so he agreed. Spotting another customer, the clerk feared being scooped by his colleagues. He hastily counted out 10 copper coins and handed them over. As he turned to leave, Lin's father grabbed his arm. The clerk, visibly annoyed, couldn't pull away. Seeing his potential customer being poached, he was ready to blow his stack. "Hold on," Lin's father said quickly. "I've got one more herb here." "Why don't you take a look?" The clerk's anger flared. "You just cost me a sale." "Hey, I'll make it worth your while," Lin's father assured him. The clerk, barely containing his rage, replied, "Fine. Let's see this wonder herb that's worth losing." Business over. When Lin's father pulled out the gold and silver grass, Lin Yi saw the clerk's eyes light up, but he quickly recovered, scoffing, "This isn't worth any more than those others. Copper plate, same as the rest." Lin Yi found it amusing, but Lin's father remained calm. He placed the golden sun grass on the table and smiled. "You sure about that? 1 copper plate? What, you expectin' 2? The clerk retorted. Seeing the clerk's reaction, Lin's father said, "Looks like you're not up to this deal. Guess I'll find someone else." The clerk panicked. Wait. How about I let the Qingyao Hall appraiser take a look?" He reached for the herb. Lin Yi stepped in front of him. "We'll take it ourselves, or you can have the appraiser come here." The clerk, surprised by the kid's audacity, glared at Lin Yi. "What do you know, kid? Go play in the dirt." Lin's father held on to the gold and silver grass and said, "We'll go together." Seeing the deal slipping away, the clerk's face turned red with frustration. "Everyone knows Qingjiatang's reputation. We wouldn't cheat you." Lin's father was trying to avoid exposing the clerk's game. "I'm not saying that. Let's just go together. Saves time." Defeated, the clerk grudgingly led Lin and his father to the appraisal room. It was a simple room with a table and an old man dozing behind it. The clerk spoke softly and respectfully. "Mr. Liu, could you appraise a medicinal herb for me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes and glanced at him. "Knew you'd be back with trouble." The clerk remained respectful, pointing to the gold and silver grass in Lin's father's hand. I'm not sure about this one. I need your expert opinion, Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu finally looked at Lin Yi and his father. Put it here. Lin's father placed the gold and silver grass on the table. The old man's eyes widened in surprise. Yes, this is gold and silver grass. He examined it closely, clearly impressed. The clerk feigned surprise. Wow, honeysuckle, the old man gave him a withering look. Seizing the opportunity, Lin's father asked, Mr. Liu, how old do you think this plant is? Mr. Liu didn't hesitate. About 130 years. And what's it worth in silver? Mr. Liu hesitated, glancing at Lin's father, then at the clerk, who quickly interjected. Mr. Liu only handles the appraisal. He doesn't set prices. Then, turning to Lin's father, he said, this is some pretty good golden and silver grass, and since you're a good customer, I'll cut you a deal, 10 taels of silver. Lin's father calmly observed the clerk, who was trying to pull a fast one. Seeing that Lin's father didn't respond, the clerk pressed on. 10 taels is a good price, just for you. Regular customers only get 7. After the clerk finished speaking, Lin's father said, heck, I wouldn't even sell it for 50 taels. Forget it, I'll find someone else. The clerk looked shocked. 50 taels. You're kidding, right? Try that at any other pharmacy and see who takes you seriously. The old man closed his eyes, enjoying the show. Lin's father said, I once saw you guys purchase gold and silver grass for 30 taels of silver. My plant is more than 100 years old, so it has to be worth double the price, which is why I said 50 taels, which can be said to be extremely low prices. The clerk did not expect that Father Lin would know about that matter. Sir, the last time I purchased gold and silver grass, it was a special situation. There was a shortage at the time and there was an urgent need, so I offered such a high price. Now the price is the highest in the 50s. 13 taels of silver. Lin's father smiled. 50-year-old plants go for 13 taels, and a 100-year-old one is only worth 10. Guess you really can't handle this business, and the guy. The clerk wasn't embarrassed and replied with a smile, Sir, I'll give you a fixed price, 30 taels of silver. Lin's father said, the 50-year-old plants that Qingyao has an abundance of are not a problem, but the gold and silver grass that is more than 100 years old should be very scarce. The clerk didn't want to continue haggling around. 40 taels of silver, if you can do this business, you can do it. If you can't do it, you can only see if you have a chance next time. This is already the highest price. Lin's father knew it couldn't go any higher, so he nodded and agreed. The clerk was not happy when he saw Father Lin agreeing, because he didn't make much money to begin with. Sir, please wait a moment while I come over to collect the money and settle the bill. The guy hurried away. The old man kept his eyes closed. After a while, the man came in with a cloth bag. Father Lin carefully confirmed that there was no problem and held it tightly with both hands. This was the boxer's ration. You can imagine how heavy it was. As they left, Lin's father thanked the old man formally, but the old man didn't react, keeping his eyes shut. As Lin Yi stepped forward, the old man glanced at him. Chapter 5 Selected into the 9th Youth League. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Lin Yi and the other guy walked out of Qingyao, it felt like a dream. All of a sudden, they were loaded with silver. It took them a minute to calm down and realize how much time had passed since they'd gotten to town. Lin Yi remembered they still had to grab some supplies, so they picked up the pace. Just as they were wrapping up their shopping, Lin Yi spotted the chubby kid at an intersection. Hey, little fatty! He yelled. The kid heard him and ran over. Lin Yi, what do you think? Pretty cool, huh? Totally different from the village. My mind is blown. What about you? The kid grinned. This town is awesome. I never could have imagined anything like it back home. Man, Lin Yi, I really want to stay here. Lin Yi felt the same way, but knew it wasn't in the cards. It felt so close, yet so far. He just kept it to himself. Hey, Lin Yi asked, did you get everything you needed? Mostly. My dad's handling it, so I'm not really sure. They kept chatting, and then the kid perked up. Hey, I think I overheard someone talking about a sect recruiting disciples. Lin Yi's ears perked up. The word sect grabbed his attention. Back at the market, that stall owner had the gall to cheat him because he had relatives in the sect. Joining a sect meant your status would skyrocket. If he could get in, he wouldn't just escape the village, but he could bring his folks to town and give them a comfortable life, too. Seriously? Where are they holding tryouts? Lin Yi asked, his voice full of hope. The kid thought for a second. I think they said something about Lintang Square. You want to try out, Lin Yi? Lin Yi nodded eagerly. Why not? What's the harm in trying? The kid's eyes lit up. Alright, let's do it. But first, I gotta tell my dad. He took off to find his father. Lin Yi did the same, telling his dad about the recruitment and waiting for his reaction. His father thought it over. Son, you've gotta think this through. If you get picked, you might be gone for a long time. You won't see your mom and me for ages. It'll be tough. Lin Yi didn't hesitate. His eyes were locked on what he wanted. Dad, I've already thought about it. His father saw his determination, but he was still hesitant. The kid was only 5, way too young to be on his own. He couldn't bear to let him leave. He just said, let's go take a look first. It wasn't a yes, but Lin Yi would take it. As long as his dad came along, there was a chance. He ran back to little Fatty and his dad. As it turned out, the kid's father had the same worries. The square wasn't far. They got there pretty quickly and saw a bunch of parents with their kids, all chattering away. They figured out that the recruitment was real, but it was wrapping up soon. Lin Yi and the kid hurried to get in line. Lin Yi checked the numbers. Not many people left, so their turn would come up soon. Suddenly, a man yelled, Hey, Jean. Congrats, man, congrats. Heard your boy got selected. You're gonna be rich. Everyone turned to look, their eyes green with envy. Jean grinned when he saw who it was. Hey, Wang. Just trying our luck, you know. Never thought the little rascal would actually get in. Wang got serious. Jean, we've been neighbors forever. You know my family's got no hope. When you're swimming in cash, remember good old Wang. Jean laughed. Swimming in cash. We haven't seen anything yet. Wang gestured like he knew something. Take the Shaos, for example. Nobody knew them before, but now they're riding high. Even the mayor's kissing up to them. No one dares mess with them now. Word is, someone from their family joined a sect and made a big splash. Zhang nodded, his smile widening as he pictured his family's bright future. A bunch of other people rushed over to congratulate him. Zhang thanked them, grinning from ear to ear. Something like that would have never happened before. Lin Yi listened to their conversation, and before he knew it, it was his turn. A teenager with a serious expression, who seemed to have a hidden smile, said to Lin Yi, Come with me. Lin Yi smiled and nodded, gesturing to the kid to show he was going in. After crossing the courtyard, Lin Yi got a look at the lintongs inside. There was an open space in the middle, surrounded by rooms with closed doors and windows. It was eerily quiet. All he could hear was the sound of their footsteps. They crossed the open space and came to a door. The teenager knocked lightly, then said, Elder, I've brought the candidate for assessment. A voice from inside called out, Enter. The teenager turned to Lin Yi. Go on in. Lin Yi nodded, took a deep breath, and opened the door. It was a lobby. There were only 3 people, 2 old men sitting down and a teenager standing. Lin Yi hurried forward, so nervous he couldn't even look at the elders. He bowed his head and said quietly, Greetings, elders. The old men didn't respond. They stood up and walked around Lin Yi. One of them reached out and felt his bones, which made Lin Yi even more anxious, torn between anxiety and hope, wanting so badly to be chosen. The old men finished their examination, looked at each other, and nodded at the teenager. The teenager turned and said to Lin Yi, Follow me. Lin Yi didn't know if he'd been picked or not. Not daring to ask, he just followed the teenager through another courtyard. He saw a group of kids about his age standing there. "Join them," the teenager said. And then he turned around and left. Lin Yi didn't dare to talk to the others. He just stood quietly with them. Time stretched on forever. No one came in, and it was so silent you could hear a pin drop or even the sound of someone's heart beating. Finally, after an eternity, the door opened. A teenager led the two old men to the group of kids. One of the old men spoke. "First of all, congratulations on being selected for the Qing sect. You're starting a new life. My name is Gu. You can call me Elder Gu. This is Elder Lu. I won't say too much right now. We'll talk later. We're leaving for the sect soon. But first, you'll have some time to say goodbye to your families. Then return quickly to the lobby." Elder Gu turned to the teenager. "Take them out," he instructed. The teenager led them back through the open space, and then said, "Hurry back. If you're late, you'll lose your chance to join the Qing sect." They all agreed. Lin Yi ran back to his father. "Dad! I got picked," the other parents shot envious looks. Lin Yi's father looked stunned, then he grinned. "Xiao Yi, are you sure about this?" Lin Yi nodded, his eyes shining. Seeing his determination, his father relented. "Xiao Yi, if you really want to go, I won't stop you. Just take care of yourself at the sect." Just then, Lin Yi remembered the kid. He saw the grin on his face, but also the sadness in his eyes. "Lin Yi, congrats, man. Do great things at the sect. I'll be cheering you on." Lin Yi realized the kid probably hadn't been selected. He didn't know what to say to comfort him. Lin Yi stepped forward and hugged the kid tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, then he turned to his father. "Dad, I gotta go." His father nodded. "Xiao Yi, take care of yourself. Don't worry your mother and me." As he turned, Lin Yi felt overwhelming gratitude for the kid. Without him, he wouldn't have had the chance to join the sect and change his destiny. He saw a rush of pictures in his mind, all the laughter he and the kid had shared over the years. Smiling, he walked back into the courtyard. From now on, the sky's the limit. Nearby, watching Lin Yi walk into the courtyard, the clerk from Qingyao Hall assessed the situation, and seemed to come to a decision. Chapter 6-9 Deputy Sect Master of Qingmen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After days on the road, Lin Yi finally arrived at Qingmen. Like the others, he was a kid who'd forgotten the exhaustion of the trip. He stared, curious, at the peaks stretching before them, each topped with different buildings. To him, it was towering, majestic, and impressive. These kids, coming from towns and remote mountain villages, had never imagined anything like this, a house so high, so big, built right on a mountaintop. They were all itching to get inside. Every little face glowed with excitement. Lin Yi was no different, his head swiveling to take it all in. Is this where I'll be staying now? He wondered. He quietly vowed to himself to stay as long as possible, so he could keep sending money home. As these thoughts swirled in his mind, carriages kept arriving, each carrying kids about their age. They looked as tired as he felt, but the sight of the tall buildings ahead sparked the same reaction. "Elder Gu, didn't expect you so early. Recruit any good material?" Elder Gu shook his head. "Elder Qin, you went that way last time. You know the situation better than I do. You know I can't get anything. You were the one pulling in talented disciples last time. Judging by your expression, I'm sure you did just as well this time." Elder Qin grinned. "Well, if I hadn't struck gold last time, maybe you'd have had a better shot. Guess I didn't think about it." Elder Gu sighed. "Like I said, that is too lucky for me. What did you get this time?" Elder Qin said, "Oh, just 3 or 4. Elder Gu wanted to shout something out. 3 or 4, and the way you are behaving, this is an open flex. Elder Lu's face darkened. He was annoyed with Elder Gu. He thought, zip it up, will you? Nobody asked. Who cares? Elder Qin opened his mouth to add something, but then a middle-aged man approached, and everything went quiet. "Greetings, Deputy Sect Master." Everyone, elders and disciples alike, bowed and shouted as one. This middle-aged man was the deputy sect leader of Qing sect. The kids, who'd been so excited, quieted down at the sight of the imposing figure. Many showed nervousness. Lin Yi stole a glance at the deputy sect master, then quickly lowered his head, hoping not to displease him. The deputy sect leader turned to a steward. "Steward Yu, are all the elders back from recruitment?" Steward Yu replied, "Deputy sect master, 2 elders are still missing." "I don't know why. What do you think?" The deputy sect leader's expression didn't change. "They must have been delayed. We'll wait a little longer." He looked at Lin Yi and the others, then murmured a few words to Steward Yu. His voice was so quiet, it was hard to make out what he said. After listening, Steward Yu stepped forward. "All right, everyone, listen up. Arrange yourselves in order from shortest to tallest." The kids were all scattered. After hearing this, they rushed to organize themselves. Some were so nervous, they didn't know where to stand. They looked ready to cry. After all, they were just kids under 10, and Lin Yi was only 5. Lin Yi was small for his age, skinny because of his family's poverty. After Lin Yi found a spot, other disciples continued to squeeze in. Because everyone was taller than him, Lin Yi was pushed further and further away. Manager Yu pointed at several disciples and said, "From here, and here. Line up in 3 rows." The new formation happened quickly according to the instructions of Manager Yu. Lin Yi was no longer at the edge. Lin Yi saw that 3 of them were about the same height as him, and the others were all taller than him. Soon, another carriage arrived. The last team. The sound of the carriage grew louder, until it appeared in view. The 2 elders quickly saluted the deputy sect leader. The deputy sect leader said, "Thank you both for your hard work. Have your disciples join the queue?" "Yes." Once everyone was in place, the deputy sect leader walked over to the group of disciples. "You've just heard that I'm the deputy sect leader of Qing sect." "Greetings, deputy sect master." The kids' voices were loud and clear. The deputy sect leader nodded. "First, congratulations on being selected and joining Qing sect. Qingmen has stood for hundreds of years and is one of the strongest sections. Currently, the sect has around 700 or 800 members. And the mountain range you're in is called the Qingmen Mountains. The Qingmen Mountains stretch for thousands of miles. It's the largest mountain range in this area. Besides Qingmen, there are several other powerful groups here. You're all young now, but I want to remind you, when you leave the sect, stay close by. Don't wander off too far. The sects around here are always at each other's throats. It's dangerous if you run into disciples from another sect. And then there are the wild beasts in the mountains. That's less likely, of course. The Qingmen Mountains are huge, but you can't be too careful. Remember that, or you might not make it back." "Yes, deputy sect leader." Lin Yi hadn't realized how dangerous the mountains were. Not only were they crawling with hostile disciples, but there were wild animals, too. He vowed to himself never to leave the sect without good reason. He was just a kid. He wouldn't stand a chance. It's not as if they would allow kids like them to leave the sect. What is the difference between this and committing suicide? The deputy sect leader continued, "It's getting late. You've all been traveling, and you must be tired. Steward Yu will take you to get some food. After that, you'll go straight to bed. We'll take care of everything else tomorrow." He glanced at Steward Yu, then turned and left. "Farewell, deputy sect master." As he walked away, the deputy sect master disappeared from view. Steward Yu announced, "Follow me," in this formation. The sect was enormous, and the buildings were all on mountaintops. Following Steward Yu, they were soon exhausted, but then a delicious smell wafted through the air, and every face turned involuntarily in that direction. Chapter 7: The Weak and the Strong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the road the last few days, I just grabbed some dry food. Seeing this amazing spread, everyone was chowing down. Lin Yi was a little different. He ate faster than usual, but compared to the others, he was taking his time. He wondered if there was a time limit. I've never eaten anything this good before, he thought. Every bite has to be savored. Man, it would be awesome if our family could eat like this every day. This made Lin Yi even more determined to work hard and make a good impression at the sect. Before he knew it, the other kids were done and still looked hungry. Lin Yi was the only one still eating. He suddenly felt eyes on him. He looked up and realized everyone else had finished. He quickly ducked his head and started shoveling it in, speeding up. He didn't want to draw attention to himself, especially not make the other disciples resentful. They'd all be living together from now on. If he ticked someone off now, it would be a pain later. In seconds, Lin Yi polished off the rest, swallowing the last bite. Just then, Manager Yu showed up, glanced at the empty bowls and chopsticks, and said, "Good, nothing wasted. Every meal will be like this from now on." "Yes, Manager Yu." All the disciples replied in unison. They were loving this food. After eating, they all felt like they could eat more, but they definitely would not waste any. In their minds, that was not an option. Manager Yu nodded. "Line up and follow me." Lin Yi and the others followed Manager Yu down the mountain peak along a winding path. Thank goodness they weren't hiking back up. No one could handle that right after eating. Soon, they arrived at a row of wooden houses. A slightly chubby young man saw Manager Yu and hurried over, bowing. "Good to see you, Manager Yu." Manager Yu nodded. "These are new recruits. Get them settled." The young man replied quickly, "Yes, Manager Yu, I'll take care of it immediately." As he spoke, his body jiggled. Manager Yu almost rolled his eyes. The young man touched his head, embarrassed. Manager Yu looked at Lin Yi and the others. "You'll follow his instructions from now on." With that, Manager Yu left. The young man wanted to see him off, but Manager Yu waved him away. The young man glanced at Lin Yi and the others. "Okay, everyone, calm down. 10 people in a line." They quickly lined up again. The fat young man said, "First row, come with me. The rest of you wait here. No wandering around or making noise, got it?" "Got it." Lin Yi saw the first row follow the young man into a wooden house. Soon, the young man came back out, and the disciples who had followed him and remained in the wooden house. "Second row, follow me." Lin Yi was in the second row and followed the young man inside. He saw that it was a bunkhouse. There was a row of beds with 10 quilts. The young man said, "Find your spot in line and take the corresponding bed." Lin Yi was first in line, so he got the first bed, which wasn't great, but he didn't care. It was just a place to sleep. After the young man made the arrangements, he left to settle the other teams. Since they hadn't received any other instructions, Lin Yi and the others stood inside and didn't dare to move. They had to wait for further directions. The sky was getting darker. Some disciples were practically asleep on their feet, desperate to climb into bed. Lin Yi was also exhausted, but the young man hadn't come back, so he fought to keep his eyes open. When he was about to nod off, he pinched himself hard. That hurt. He hoped the young man would come back soon. Otherwise, he'd have to keep pinching himself. In a daze, he thought he saw the fat figure at the door. He was happy. He could go to sleep soon. He blinked, but when he looked again, he still saw someone at the door. He must be hallucinating. Some disciples couldn't take it anymore. Figuring the young man wasn't coming back, they were about to go to bed. But just as they were about to climb in, someone appeared in the doorway, silhouetted by the moonlight. Lin Yi thought it was still an illusion, but then the young man spoke. "Okay, everyone can rest now. Keep it down tonight and don't disturb the others." With that, he closed the door. The moment the door shut, Lin Yi collapsed onto his bed. In a daze, he thought he heard someone talking. "You, get over there." He opened his eyes and saw a bigger, stronger disciple pointing at a skinny one. Apparently, the skinny kid wanted to grab a better bed. Lin Yi didn't like it, but what could he do? He was young and small. Luckily, his bed wasn't that great, or he'd be in the same situation. The skinny disciple looked upset and wanted to argue, but seeing the other guy's build, he gave in and walked away. As for reporting it, forget it. Lin Yi couldn't resist the sleepiness and drifted off. He had a smile on his face. He dreamed of home. Because he joined Qingmen, things were getting better. Like today, he'd eaten an amazing meal, and every meal from now on would be delicious. At some point, the door opened, dazzling sunlight poured into the dark wooden house. Lin Yi opened his eyes, squinting against the brightness. "Wake up!" Someone shouted. Some disciples were still asleep and didn't react. The shouting woke them up. "Hurry up and get cleaned up. Manager Yu is waiting. If you're late, I'll send you back home." Hearing that, all the disciples jumped out of bed. If they got sent back for sleeping in, how would they explain that to their parents? Chapter 8 Medicine Peak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, after cleaning up, Lin Yi and the others left the cabin and reorganized their group. Before long, Manager Yu appeared. He approached them and said, "All right, come with me, all of you." Lin Yi didn't know what was up, but he figured the sect had a plan. They arrived at a small square. Manager Yu announced, "Congratulations again on joining the Qingmen sect. You'll all be living together for a while. Here at Qingmen, martial arts training is the priority. Don't get bogged down in other stuff unless you manage to get into Yaofeng. Only real strength guarantees your place and ensures Qingmen's future in the Qingyao mountains. Got it?" "Yes." The disciples responded loudly. Manager Yu nodded, satisfied. "Good. Wait here, we'll get you registered later." Shortly after, a teenage boy approached, likely the one handling registrations. He went directly to Manager Yu and whispered something in his ear. Manager Yu then glanced at the disciples. "Which one of you is Lin Yi?" Lin Yi, surprised to be singled out, quickly spoke up. "That's me, Manager Yu." Manager Yu smiled. "Lin Yi, go with Junior Master Lu here." The teenage boy was already looking at Lin Yi. "Yes, Manager Yu." Lin Yi followed the young man, leaving the other disciples curious and whispering amongst themselves, but nobody dared say anything in front of Manager Yu. They walked in silence for some time. Lin Yi had a million questions but didn't dare ask. Reaching a mountain path, the young man finally spoke. "I'm Lu Ren. Call me Senior Brother Lu, Junior Brother Lin." Lin Yi nodded cautiously and whispered, "Senior Brother Lu." Lu Ren smiled and nodded, pointing to the mountain ahead. "That's Yaofeng, Medicine Peak." Lin Yi stared at it curiously, remembering Manager Yu mentioning it. Lu Ren continued, "The sect used to focus on making medicine, but over time, that's been forgotten, and most people train in martial arts instead. Now it's just Fei Lao and me at Yaofeng." Lin Yi noticed the regret in Lu Ren's eyes. He clearly felt that medicine making shouldn't have been abandoned. Even though he couldn't change things, they reached the top of Yaofeng mountain. There was a large clearing. Lin Yi looked around for Fei Lao but didn't see anyone. Lu Ren kept talking, and Lin Yi listened, but some questions kept bugging him. Finally, Lin Yi blurted out, "Senior Brother Lu, I haven't registered yet." He watched Senior Brother Lu Ren closely, worried about not being officially registered or even considered a Qingmen sect disciple. He didn't care where he stayed, as long as he was a disciple. Lu Ren smiled. "Don't worry, Junior Brother Lin. I'll take you to your bamboo house first, where you'll be staying. After you see it, I'll get you registered and take care of everything." "Thanks, Senior Brother Lu. We're brothers now. No need for such formality." Lin Yi sensed that Senior Brother Lu Ren was a good person. Despite their short acquaintance, Lin Yi nodded. "Senior Brother Lu, why was I picked to come to Yaofeng?" Lu Ren replied, "I'm not sure exactly, but it has something to do with Mr. Lu from Qingyao. He recommended you to Fei Lao, and Fei Lao told me." Lin Yi thought of the old man at Qingyao. By this time, they had arrived at the bamboo house and stepped inside. It only had a bed, a table, and a chair, but Lin Yi found it pretty good. Then, under Senior Brother Lu Ren's guidance, Lin Yi went through the entrance registration and got his basic supplies, including bedding. The process took most of the day. At Yaofeng, meals were delivered to the base of the mountain, so Lin Yi didn't have to go out to eat. It was even better than what he had eaten before. After eating, Senior Brother Lu Ren told Lin Yi to rest. Lin Yi sat at the table, dozing off. He was startled awake by Senior Brother Lu Ren calling from outside. Lin Yi opened the door and called out to him. Lu Ren held out a booklet. "This is a guide to medicinal herbs, Junior Brother Lin. You'll need it. Lin Yi took it and glanced inside. It was full of pictures and text, but the text looked like gibberish to him. Lin Yi hesitated. "Senior brother Lu, I can't read." Lu Ren smiled. "Don't worry, junior brother Lin. I'll teach you about the herbs and how to read." Lin Yi was incredibly grateful. He had been so lucky. Because of the little fat guy, he had the chance to go to the town and join the Qingmen. And because of Mr. Lu from Qingyao, he was now at Yaofeng, where he met the amazing senior brother Lu Ren. He felt like he was dreaming and was afraid of waking up. Senior brother Lu Ren continued, "We'll mainly focus on the herbs here. You need to know their names, how they grow, what they're used for, everything. That way, we won't accidentally damage them." Lin Yi was overwhelmed and didn't know where to start. Lu Ren saw his expression and said, "Take it easy, junior brother Lin. You're just starting. It's a long process. I spent a lot of time learning all this. Once I'm done, I'll ask Fei Lao if I can travel and learn more about pharmacology. But for now, I'll teach you to read." Lin Yi was learning to read for the first time in his life. Literacy was key, and his future depended on it. Lin Yi listened attentively, memorizing everything. He asked for help whenever he didn't understand something. He was completely absorbed. He might never have learned to read if he hadn't left his village. Half an hour passed before he knew it. "That's all for today, junior brother Lin. We'll continue tomorrow." Lin Yi, still wanting more, nodded. "Let's go check out the herbs first." Lin Yi followed Lu Ren out of the bamboo house, and Lu Ren introduced him to the thousands of herbs, valuable ones, old ones, and ordinary ones, all planted in sections. He knew all about identifying medicines. A year ago, Fei Lao had even agreed to let him prepare medicines using ordinary herbs. Lu Ren was very enthusiastic when he spoke about it. Not long after Lin Yi returned to his room, he started thinking about the future. He decided to spend a third of his time each day reading and the rest memorizing Yaofeng's herbs. He would do both, so neither would lag behind. Lin Yi's initial goal was to memorize 10 herbs, and he planned to spend at least 10 days on them. He was going for 100% accuracy, even if it took longer. Names, functions, age, everything. The next day, after senior brother Lu finished teaching him to read, Lin Yi followed him to the medicine field and started pointing at the herbs, asking questions. After 10 questions, Lin Yi realized he only remembered a rough outline. He was getting confused. He wished he could take notes so he could refer back to them. He decided to lower his goal. Memorizing just one herb to start with would prevent this. In the following days, Lin Yi lived a simple but fulfilling life. 3 months had passed since he arrived at the sect. During that time, Fei Lao never came back, but Lin Yi had seen his portrait, and senior brother Lu Ren had taken good care of him. Lin Yi could now read a lot of words. He had even borrowed some simple books from the library. As for herbs, he could remember them very well. Another 3 months flew by. With hard work, Lin Yi could now read some simple books completely. He hadn't touched the booklet in 6 months. He had a new plan: focus on memorizing 5 herbs. Over the past 6 months, Lin Yi had only memorized a few herbs, but he had built a solid foundation for learning by association. He knew that his memory would only improve from now on. One day, after senior brother Lu Ren finished teaching Lin Yi, he said, "Congratulations, junior brother. You can read without any issues now." Lin Yi could now read and write fluently. He was incredibly grateful to senior brother Lu and would always remember his kindness. A year had passed since Lin Yi came to Qingmen and Yaofeng, and he had gained so much. He was a year older, still only 6. He had learned to read and write and knew a lot about herbs. However, Mr. Fei still hadn't returned. Lin Yi hoped to repay everyone for their kindness. Without senior brother Lu Ren's care and guidance, he wouldn't have progressed so quickly. In the days that followed, Lin Yi devoted himself to memorizing herbs, and his speed increased. Despite the faster pace, his knowledge remained solid. Senior brother Lu Ren often tested Lin Yi and corrected his mistakes to help him master the herbs more quickly and firmly. Time kept rolling on. 1 year. Chapter 9. Finally meeting Mr. Fei and teaching him how to make medicine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 years flew by, and 7-year-old Lin Yi shot up in height. He was noticeably stronger than when he'd first arrived, with a healthy glow to his skin, thanks to the good food and exercise. Even though it had been 2 years since he'd seen Fei Lao, the old man's image was burned into Lin Yi's memory. Lin Yi could now identify hundreds of medicinal herbs at a glance, and his sense of smell for them was incredibly sharp. It felt like he was on the verge of unlocking all the secrets of herbal medicine. Gentian, with its short, yellowish rhizomes, is primarily used for. When Lin Yi finally committed the last herb on Yao Feng to memory, he let out a long breath. He was 9 years old now, and he finally knew every plant and tree on the mountain. He was thrilled. All the hard work had finally paid off. Over the last few years, Lin Yi had only known senior brother Lu Ren, and Fei Lao, whom he hadn't seen. But 6 months ago, senior brother Lu Ren couldn't wait any longer. He asked Lin Yi to deliver a letter to Fei Lao and then left Yao Feng alone to wander the world and explore his own path in pharmacology. Lin Yi remembered senior brother Lu Ren saying when he first arrived at Yao Feng, that he would leave once he had learned enough to pursue pharmacology. He hadn't realized how quickly time would pass. Lin Yi was truly grateful to senior brother Lu Ren, who had painstakingly taught him about medicine and reading. When he arrived at Yao Feng at the age of 5, senior brother Lu Ren had taken him under his wing. While Lin Yi was sad to see him go, he didn't try to stop him. He simply wished him the best and hoped he would achieve his goals, not knowing when they might meet again. Lin Yi went into the bamboo house and pulled out the book that had sat untouched all these years, a silent witness to his journey from ignorance to knowledge. Opening it to the first page, Lin Yi carefully compared the herbs he had learned about with the descriptions in the book. He marked any discrepancies he found and, by the time he'd gone through the whole thing, he'd found over a dozen. Lin Yi immediately checked these against the actual plants on Yao Feng, correcting his mistakes. That completed his process of identifying medicinal herbs. That night, Lin Yi had the best sleep he'd ever had at Qingmen. He dreamed of settling down, getting married, and having a house full of kids. He didn't know when, but when Lin Yi opened his eyes, he realized it was dawn. He got up and got ready, as usual. When he opened the door, he saw a figure that was both strange and familiar. Rubbing his eyes, Lin Yi realized that Fei Lao was back. The figure seemed so friendly, and Lin Yi ran up, shouting instinctively, "Fei Lao!" Fei Lao smiled, his face lighting up with familiarity, and said, "Xiao Yi, you've grown up so much. You're a lot stronger now." Lin Yi touched his head, feeling a little dazed. "Have you had any trouble these last couple of years?" "Mr. Fei, I've mastered the whole medicine book." Fei Lao's eyes twinkled kindly. "Shall we bring the book over later?" Lin Yi figured Mr. Fei wanted to test him. It was time to see if he passed the test, so he nodded. "Mr. Fei, wait here a sec." He ran back to the bamboo house and quickly returned with a letter and the medicine book. Lin Yi handed the letter to Mr. Fei. "Mr. Fei, senior brother Lu wasn't sure when you'd be back, so he left Yao Feng. He asked me to give you this letter before he left." Mr. Fei took the letter, opened it, read it, and nodded. "I'm happy your senior brother is pursuing pharmacology. I hope he finds success. Shall we, come with me?" Lin Yi followed Mr. Fei with the medicine book and handed it to him. Mr. Fei opened a random page and pointed to an herb. Lin Yi answered without hesitation. "Saxifrage. Whip and creep branches." They went back and forth, asking and answering, without a single mistake. Fei Lao sometimes just showed Lin Yi pictures, constantly changing the format, but Lin Yi still knew the answers. Mr. Fei closed the book, beaming. "Xiao Yi, fantastic. You really know your stuff. Looks like you haven't been slacking off these last few years. Starting tomorrow, you'll learn how to prepare medicine with me." Mr. Fei then pulled out another book and handed it to Lin Yi. Back in his room, Lin Yi felt like he was dreaming. He was finally going to learn how to prepare medicine. Knowing about medicine was the foundation, but preparing it was the next step, the foundation for building something even bigger. Mastering preparation would significantly improve his skills. After calming down, he remembered the book in his hand. Lin Yi flipped to the first page, staring at it for a long time before turning to the second, then the third. He was lost in its pages, forgetting everything else, until finally he snapped back to reality. Looking out the window, he realized it was already dark. Lin Yi recalled the contents of the book. It was an ocean of herbal knowledge. It contained descriptions of around 100,000 different herbs, with incredible detail. There were even legendary remedies in it. If he could master the herbs in this book, Lin Yi figured he could become a master pharmacist, maybe even the ancestor of all pharmacists. Of course, that was just a dream, but Lin Yi saw a new path now. He would learn to prepare medicines while also steadily absorbing the knowledge in the pharmacopoeia. The next day, Lin Yi arrived early to meet Mr. Fei, who led him into the pharmacy. It was Lin Yi's first time there, and he was immediately hit by the strong, pungent smell of medicine. Fei Lao looked serious. Xiaoyi, preparing medicine requires extreme precision and attention to detail. Every single medicine is crucial. A mistake won't just fail to help people, it could hurt them. Each medicine has its corresponding formula. Never change it. These formulas have been refined over generations. You must remember them. After a pause, he continued, of course, creating a new formula isn't impossible, but it requires constant testing and can only be used on others after you're certain it's safe. Lin Yi took Fei Lao's words to heart. Medicines come in two forms, liquid and pills. This is a liquid, and this is a pill. Throughout the day, Mr. Fei introduced him to the principles of dispensing medicine. Lin Yi realized the precision and difficulty involved. No wonder it was so hard to become a pharmacist. Before leaving, Mr. Fei gave Lin Yi a medicinal liquid formula, which Lin Yi clutched tightly all night. The next day, Mr. Fei briefly recapped what he'd taught the day before. Xiaoyi, we'll start dispensing medicine today. We'll start with a liquid. Pay attention to the heat, the brewing time, and the order in which you add the herbs. Lin Yi watched Fei Lao work. The ingredients were simple: blue, sedum, and geranium. Fei Lao weighed the ingredients with precision and the subsequent steps flowed smoothly. Lin Yi thought to himself, when will I be able to do that? He'd finally seen the complete process of dispensing medicine. Lying in bed that night, Lin Yi silently reviewed the process and drifted off to sleep. Over the next few days, Mr. Fei taught Lin Yi how to prepare medicinal liquids. The types of liquids grew more diverse, and the number of herbs used increased. One liquid required more than 20 different herbs, but Fei Lao still moved with effortless grace. More than 10 days later, Fei Lao announced, starting today, we'll prepare pills. Preparing pills was even more challenging. Fei Lao started with the simplest recipe. Seeing Fei Lao work with such ease, Lin Yi thought it would be easy and quickly refined a pill. Lin Yi took the pills Fei Lao had made, and Fei Lao said, pay attention to the water content, the smell, the color. He went on to explain everything about pills. In the days that followed, Mr. Fei kept teaching Lin Yi how to prepare pills. After more than a month of study, he had a basic understanding of pill preparation. That day, Lin Yi arrived at the dispensing room as usual, but Fei Lao wasn't there. Lin Yi looked all over the mountain but couldn't find him. He guessed that Fei Lao had gone out again, and he didn't know when he would be back. Looking around at the vastness of Yaofeng, he felt a sudden sense of emptiness. He was all alone. Chapter 10: Becoming a Pharmacist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Standing atop the solitary medicine peak, Lin Yi finally cleared his head, locked in his plan, and decided to start brewing his own remedies. He carved out a stone chamber within the peak, turning it into his personal pharmacy. After gathering the necessary herbs from the medicine field, Lin Yi started his first batch, following the formula step by step. He measured the water, selected the herbs, and timed the process precisely. But when he lifted the lid, a wave of burnt stench hit him. He'd cranked the heat up too high. Undeterred, Lin Yi tried again. This time, he carefully controlled the heat, but the result still fell short of Fei Lao's quality. He kept at it, repeating the process countless times until he finally came close to Fei Lao's standards. A smile finally cracked across his face as he gazed at the liquid in the stove, despite his soot-covered face. He couldn't have been happier. Through relentless experimentation, Lin Yi began to grasp the underlying principles and develop his own techniques. In the days that followed, he dedicated himself to brewing the medicinal solution. With each batch, his success rate improved, reaching a point of near-perfect consistency. He no longer wasted a single herb, and the solution began to yield excellent results. Half a year flew by. Lin Yi had become skilled at brewing the medicinal liquids he needed and had achieved his initial goal. However, the world of herbal remedies was vast, and he was only proficient in a dozen or so. He knew he still had a long way to go. After 6 months of practice, Lin Yi had figured out his own set of rules. He was confident that with continued exploration and experience, his brewing skills would only improve, allowing him to tackle more complex remedies. With the medicinal liquid perfected, he turned his attention to pills, starting with the simplest formulas. The first step was grinding the herbs into a fine powder. Lin Yi cringed at his first attempt. All that remained was a pile of unusable residue. He'd watched Mr. Fei do it with such ease, but the first step proved surprisingly difficult. His second attempt yielded only marginal improvements, but Lin Yi was nothing if not persistent. He repeated the process over and over, losing count of the attempts. His young hands became raw and blistered, but he refused to give up. He spent over a month just grinding the herbs. Looking back, he could hardly believe it. He just looked at the powder and smiled helplessly. With the powder finally ready, he moved on to the second step, carefully mixing it with water according to the proportions. This process went much smoother, and he succeeded after only a few tries. The third step, shaping and baking the pills, was the most crucial. The first attempt left only burnt remnants, the second, a failure, another failure, countless attempts later. Burnt again. Just residue. Smells wrong. Wrong color. Everything's wrong. Winter turned to summer, spring to fall. The solitary medicine peak remained desolate. Fortunately, faint footprints and signs of activity could still be found. The disciples of the Nine Serenity sect had grown used to it, barely registering its existence. Few even knew that a disciple named Lin Yi resided there. Then, one day, a burst of laughter shattered the quiet of Medicine Peak. Finally. Lin Yi stood there, pills clutched in his hands, unable to contain his excitement. He had finally succeeded. After calming down, he returned to his work. Medicine Peak appeared increasingly desolate, almost devoid of human presence. Yet, the fragrant aroma of herbs grew stronger each day, attracting small animals and bringing a unique vitality to the mountain. One day, a stone door creaked open, and a slender young man with handsome features emerged. He stretched, basking in the sunshine, enjoying the warmth. It was Lin Yi, now 14 years old. Nearly a decade had passed since he arrived at the Nine Serenity sect at the age of 5. The years had etched themselves onto the young man as he matured. From the innocent 5-year-old to the qualified pharmacist he had become, he'd come a long way. If he were to return to town now, he would undoubtedly be considered a master. Lin Yi realized that even though he could now refine qualified pills, he had no idea if they would be effective. Clutching his pills, he ventured down Medicine Peak, a rare occurrence since he joined the sect. Soon, he arrived at the trading area. The place bustled with activity, but the faces were unfamiliar. He found an open space, unfurled a piece of paper he had prepared, and waited in silence. As disciples passed by, some glanced at him and hurried on, their comments often audible. "Who's this kid? Trying to sell pills at that age? They look fake. Scammers are getting younger these days." Lin Yi offered no defense, only a helpless smile. If the pills didn't deliver the promised effects, he would feel like a charlatan himself. Time ticked by. A boy of 15 or 16 approached and lingered, hesitating to speak. Finally, he asked, "Excuse me, do you have anything for sprains?" Lin Yi smiled, "Yes, but it depends on the location of the sprain." "Well, a fellow apprentice sprained his foot during training today. He's in so much pain he can barely walk." Lin Yi considered this. "Bring him here, let me take a look. That way, I can prescribe the right remedy and prevent further complications." The surrounding disciples gathered around, cautioning the young man, "Don't be fooled. He looks like a con artist. Pills are precious. He's not likely to have any. And look at that sign, promising magic. It's fake. Don't fall for it. Others chimed in. Don't make things worse by trying some quack medicine. Yeah, but the young man hesitated, unsure of what to do. Lin Yi knew this was his first potential sale, so he couldn't let it slip away. Just bring your friend over, and I'll test the medicine right here. You'll see for yourself. Before the young man could respond, the others objected. What if something goes wrong during the test? More disciples joined the growing crowd, eager to see what would happen. Lin Yi spoke loudly, I'm a disciple of Medicine Peak, and I wouldn't jeopardize its reputation. The mention of Medicine Peak silenced the crowd. It was an esteemed place within the sect, considered a forbidden zone. Lin Yi continued, if you trust me, bring your friend. If you don't, there's nothing more I can say. The young man's hesitation gave way to resolve, and he hurried off. The surrounding disciples remained, eager to see the outcome. Some were waiting for the medicine to not work, while others had hope. Lin Yi waited patiently.